It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing another reaction discussion video that was suggested by one of you guys in the Discord community. And if you want to join the Discord community, you can go ahead and join with the link in the description. You can accept the rules with the knife emote at the bottom so you can speak with the rest of us, talk about different topics, and suggest videos like these. Now shout out to Maxels 2400. I'm just hoping that's how you say it. And they suggested this video from Refined that's titled "This is Why I Speak for Killers in Dead by Daylight." Now, the original video will be linked in the description so you can actually listen to the full thing. I'm only going to be responding to certain talking points, certain parts of it. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Activation from them are so much easier than the killer side. There are a lot of killer massive. There is a reason why they are meted out of their minds, and there is a good reason too, just why pain resonance and things like that just aren't as strong as a DS. There are a lot of perks on the survivor side that simply hurt the killer just because they exist, and their efforts to actually get activation from them are so much easier than the killer side. There are
So briefly, what Refined is talking about is the second chance sort of epidemic that is sort of plaguing the game right now when it comes down to the survivor side and when it comes down to playing killer as a whole. And one of those main things is obviously the fact that there is a lot of leeway, a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom for these, for the survivor side to use. You know what I mean? And DS is a perfect example of that, obviously. You're getting a massive amount of value, a massive amount of impact. You're getting a lot for simply just existing versus having to require multiple steps in the path in order to get some slowdown. Like those two things are not the same, right? DS is activated just simply because you got hooked, which could easily range from being either really difficult for the killer to do, depending if you're actually able to loop, or because of the pallet density, the map size, yada yada yada. And then you can get it to activate after unhooks, or you can die in less than 10 seconds, get hooked, and then have it active all the time for about 60 seconds. And if you've already gone down in under 10 seconds as it was, then you'll end up probably going down under 10 seconds again to then use it again, obviously the second chance to then stun the killer, wasting even more time. And then you get it twice, if I'm not mistaken. So, and even if once, it can literally change the tide of the battle, you could say, or the trial. And that's what we're kind of discussing, because if we compare it to something like pain res, right? Because these two things are they're not exactly function the same. They're not really necessarily doing the same thing on the surface, but if you have to look at it outside the box, okay? Decisive strike ultimately is there to waste the killer's time, which means that they cannot go to the gens or even prevent the gens from progressing or things like that, protect them at all. And the killer's job is to stop those gens, right? Is able to regress them, is able to damage them in some kind of way, to slow the game down. So pain res and DS kind of function in the same way, where it's it wastes the other side's time. So if you decide to get a quick down with pain res, which already requires you to, depending on the killer, requires you to get 2 full health states, and to also be lucky enough that it's nearby, to drag them all the way over there and place them and hope between that span of time of looking for, finding, then hitting once, following them up again, hitting them again, then hopefully picking them up, and then also having the pain res ready to go near you. And then on top of that, also having to be able to traverse from that point all the way back over will determine if the pain res even did anything versus DS, which can pretty much provide value at any point until endgame, basically, where it deactivates. And that's just one example, right? One of those, the meta perks on killer is still not even that amazing. And I've even just talked about this briefly in the fog vials, when that first was dropped and it was extremely overtuned. Around that time, I believe it was, when they were trying to no, my bad, wasn't the fog vials, it was the PTB for the anti-tunnel changes. My mistake. It was around that point where Quiet Kills and Aeronad were going, we're in a custom trying to test out the changes, And Aranat had used pain res. There was 2 gens 99. He used pain res. It damaged one gen flew. Not even 5 seconds later, the gen that got hit with pain res just went right up again. And then got done right after. It literally did nothing. So it's kind of insane to me, like, that there are perks that are like that just simply are not that impactful, that really don't do that much. And you'll have people that disagree with it, and they'll say, "Oh well, you know, it's just strong on against me and my team, and my killers like always use it, and it's so strong." And it's like, chances are, like, the pain res wasn't even that crazy because the survivors themselves are not skilled enough to be able to hold their own and chase regardless. So the pain res is more impactful if you're doing well. It's literally a feast or famine sort of perk. Because if you're already doing well, it only adds to it. If you're doing badly, it's gonna do nothing. So that's just unfortunately how it goes. But you can't say the same for the survivor side, unfortunately. It's just not balanced that way. But let's continue.
A lot of killer players out there in the fog right now that genuinely have had enough of the bullying, the bullshit, and all of the backward hand shit from behavior. And I am refined. I am somebody that does not tolerate bullying. I do not like bullying. I think it's disgusting. I think we've got one life on this planet and we should be able to enjoy ourselves and be who we want to be. That's why the community I run is a support for all players in Dead by Daylight, and primarily killer players. Of course, we've got loads of survivor players as well. This video is not aimed at your typical survivor who just wants to jump on DBD and have some fun. No. This video is aimed at the little shits who inherit all of those second chance perks, sit in their 4-man comms, and know exactly that every single advantage is stacked on their side, and they go in at the endgame chat and make that person playing killer feel subhuman.
That right there is exactly where I'm coming from, and is exactly why I wanted to at least voice a bit about the killer anxiety issue. As much as I think a lot of people may not really want to discuss it, or not that they don't care, but maybe it doesn't apply to them and stuff like that. This is at least speaking on people that do experience it. I've experienced it before. And that's why I wanted to kind of touch on it. And that's why I also wanted to sort of add on to what, you know, Refined is sort of adding here. Is the mere fact that it's not like none of this stuff is really directed at those survivors that are just playing for fun. Like, they're not just playing the game. They're not worried about, you know, meta. They're not worried about sweating. They're just having fun. Like, they're just trying to do their thing. And there's a lot of people that play that way. And those are the people that I appreciate, because I'm like, hey, they're just trying to play the game. They're just trying to have fun just like me. Like, I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? And that's the people that I like to, you know, sort of promote and talk about and stuff like that, and raise up. Because obviously at the end of the day, like, we're referring to those players that are in comms sweatballing their asses off and trying to make the killer experience as horrible as possible just because they have this really strange vendetta against killer players. And it's really strange. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? And I cover a lot of it in different forum posts and stuff like that, because it's extremely prevalent. It's not like, you know, it's very common to see a lot of like survivor players like that do team up and do those kinds of things. Unfortunately, it's just very common in the community. It's very hard to say that it's rare. It's really not. Even in like my last stream alone, we must have had like 4 or 5 matches in a row where we had the same sort of crashing out, raging, always something like in the EGC, just losing their minds, you know, being super toxic. And it's really weird because like when you hear survivors claim that it's like, oh, killers are so toxic, and it's like, so how many did you get in a stream? And it's like, in that span of time, right? Because like that's the best we can, you know, kind of do, because obviously there's not a lot of information we can go off of. You may see like once or twice, and then like they're kind of blabbing about it. But for killer players, we can pull out like at least 5 different screenshots from just one session at times at this point. You know what I mean? It's a big problem. It really is. It's a big problem. And that's why I wanted to really talk about it.
269 win streak on him. okay? And that's not something everybody does. There's a lot of people that can't play Dead by Daylight like I can, where I play it every single day and I make content on it, and it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm talking about your average killer players out there, players who maybe do their 9 till 5s, come home, and they want to play some killer, but they're afraid of the last experience that they had, because the truth is, when you get 4 or even a 3-man, when you get a bunch of survivors who aren't messing around, aren't doing totems, aren't just being overly altruistic for no reason, they're simply sitting on gens. Even without gen rush perks, they can just sit on gens. And as long as somebody who's in chase is communicating well with their team, and as soon as somebody else gets into a chase, they just swap and then they're sitting on gens, the game can be over in a matter of minutes. The killer just feels like, what's the fucking point? There's nothing I can do. And that's not even including the second chance perks that these Swifts know they can run.
That right there is something that I've tried to discuss briefly, I think, within these kinds of videos and stuff like that. It's hard to touch on everything in just one video usually. But that's something that I talk about a lot. That's something that I also can, you can literally see on streams and things like that, that it just happens that way. That's just how it goes. You know what I mean? It's very bad. It's very disgusting to see. And that's just unfortunately how it is. I've spoken to a lot of people that want to play killer. I've spoken to a lot of people that briefly play killer. There's a lot of people that just main survivor specifically because they are unable to play killer. And that's for all those people because they have experience or had experience or currently experience like the killer anxiety issue, right? Because they either seen a bunch of clips where like killers get bullied and they don't want to be the butt of the joke. Maybe they participated in bullying killers before, so they don't want to be a part of that, to be made fun of, to feel like less than, to feel small, to feel belittled, you know what I mean? And just to feel terrible. That's what we're talking about, right? Because there's people that are like, I played 2 games. I think I'm good. Like, that's it for today. I'll come back to this another time. Like, but that's it for me. You know what I mean? It's not easy. You know what I mean? It's not easy for people to continue to keep doing that over and over. You know what I mean? It's just not, it's not fun. And at the end of the day, like, there is a lot of the toxicity in the community. There's a lot of things that go on in the community that I just am not a fan of personally. And Refine talks about it like in that sense, because it's like there is a lot of players that go out of their way to just give the killer a hard time. You know what I mean? On top of the fact that the balancing just, it really isn't there. You know what I mean? It really is just not really in a good place. And one of those examples really has to do with the gen speed, as we've always talked about. I've even seen it before on my own matches. Like, I could be playing a match and it could be done in under 5 minutes. You'll check the builds, there's no gen perks. There have been times like that. I've even had that in Chaos Shuffle. People, for those of you who remember it, I got on, you know what I mean? I got on Chaos Shuffle, played Myers for literally a few minutes, boom, the game was done. You're like, what happened? Like, what is, like, it's shocking. It's like, what? And obviously it's Chaos Shuffle, so they can't control what perks they got, right? So there was no gen perks, but the game was 5 minutes. So it's like, how do you even explain that? Like, how does that even work? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Doesn't even make sense. And that's what Refine is sort of touching on. That's sort of what I'm trying to discuss as well. It's like the toxicity issue, the balancing. I mean, there's a lot of things that just happen within the game that just aren't in it, like, just isn't good. It just isn't in a good spot.
And it is so fucking strong. And then go in and cause killers harassment. They go in, they want to tell them that they're a bad killer. They want to say that they're no good, uninstall the game, okay? They get this little fantasy. And the unfortunate thing is too, it happens the most time against killers that just want to have a fun time and get better at the game. Most killer players in Dead by Daylight just simply want to get better at the game.
That right there is another thing I want to quickly touch on. And that's something that I also am trying to at least try. I've at least tried to help you guys, like, with like learning and getting better with it and stuff like that, because that's why I've made those videos that have to do with match reviews and education and learning and how to play the game better and all these different things. And I know it's not the most popular, videos, it's not the most popular content. So, it's not like always like being released because of it, but at least it's there. You know, at least I'm trying. At least, like, you know, there's something there, some kind of resource. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? It really is unfortunate because a lot of people are trying to learn. You know what I mean? It may not be a lot of people that are trying to learn. Maybe a lot of people just want to play casually or just have fun with it. But even for the few that want to learn, it's going to be a tough time, because even like speaking from my own anecdotal experience, when I started and I played Trapper like years ago, right? It was rough. I would constantly get messages because I was on console, so they would just send messages constantly. The same, like, just belittling, like, you know, the KYS, like the you're bad, uninstall, da 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 da, like anything you can think of, I've probably seen it at this point. And that's also what affected my enjoyment of the game for so long. It's like I had continued to play the game just so that I can prove that I'm better than my opponents. I was better than, you know, than what they said I was, right? Like that's what I spent so much time focusing on because of it, right? And then of course, like, that obviously affects your enjoyment of the game overall, and it still wasn't great. But that started specifically because of the community, right? But things happen for a reason, you know? And it's unfortunate that other people may not have that kind of fortitude. Other people may not have that sort of confidence in themselves, or that sort of mentality where they have something to prove. You know what I mean? That they may not have that that idea in their head that like they're the underdog in the situation. You know what I mean? And then they want to, you know, get a W out of it. It doesn't apply to everybody, and I know that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's just, you know, where I'm coming from, and that's what I want to at least try to show people, that it's not impossible. It's not impossible to make it out. It's not impossible to rise from the ashes in that kind of way. But I also, you know, understand that not everyone can do it, and I just tell people, like, it's okay to uninstall or not play or do whatever you want. Like, just try to do things that you enjoy. Or if you're gonna play, like, you got to shift your mentality around. You know what I mean? Like, you can't always focus on just winning. You have to it all comes from the inside out. You need to shift your mentality and then improve yourself before you can then apply everything else to the rest of the outwardness, which is the win, which is like your skill expression, which is the perks selection and the builds and the clips and this, that, and the third. That it's all connected in that sort of sense. And I understand Refine's frustration. I really do, because it's really unfair that a lot of players have to deal with that. I think it's unfair that we unfortunately are in a community like that, and there really isn't any regulation for that. There really isn't any policing for that. It's just, for some reason, everyone can run around rampantly just being toxic and just a bunch of clowns, and it's ridiculous. I don't think that it's very fair. But yeah, I'm gonna give it over to you guys so you can watch the video on your own and have your own thoughts on it. I want to hear what you guys think so far about the topic at hand today. What do you think in the comment section? Give or find, you know, a thumbs up there. Give them a watch. You know what I'm saying? Let them know what you think as well about the full video. I'll see you guys in the next one. You can consider supporting the channel with the memberships on Patreon or on YouTube, or subbing on Twitch. I will see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off these wonderful members. We got Patreon, Crow Vader. All my YouTube members: Brando, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not JLo, Evil Peach, Hargan Falcon, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. Really appreciate you guys supporting, man. And if you also subbed on Twitch, just know that you got love coming your way too. Appreciate you guys, man.